Welcome back to my channel. I'm James. Today we're going to be doing another one of my special and very popular most wanted movies on 4K Ultra HD. But for this one, we're doing the decade of the 90s. So in today's special video, we're going to go on a trip down memory lane to the 1990s. We're going to explore a lot of these great films from the 90s and have some nostalgia and memories come back to us as we go through all of these and just have a fun time talking about films from the 90s. Now, all of the titles that we're going to go through here are ones that came out between 1990 and 1999. So nothing 1989 or 2000 counts. Now, in this video series, I previously did my 80s most wanted on 4K Ultra HD. And if you haven't checked out that video yet, when you get done watching this one, you can check out that one on this YouTube channel as well. And that video was very popular, and I got a lot of questions asking if I can do this for more decades. So, as requested, we're doing 90s movies today, and it took me a long time to go through all of these. Let me tell you, I had a much harder time with the 90s than I did with that 80s video. And here's why. I had over 500 titles in stacks that I had to narrow down from that, and I had a hard time even getting down from that 500. So in this video, I've got a massive amount that I'm going to try to cover and go through in this, because there is so many titles that came out in the 90s that were just outstanding or huge movies. Some of them smaller movies that maybe you haven't heard of, but that were still great movies of that decade. And there's a lot of hidden announcements and surprise announcements that I'm going to be sharing in this video. Just like I did in that 80s video, there's a lot of hidden surprises of things that I've been notified about that are coming out on 4K Ultra HD that are going to be sprinkled out throughout this entire video. And some of these are really going to excite you because they are exciting titles that I'm sure you haven't heard of that are coming out on 4K Ultra HD. Now, to start off with, the first one I want to touch on is Titanic. Now, as most of you know, I talked about James Cameron a bunch previously. This is one that he did announce is coming out this year on 4K Ultra HD. Hopefully over the next few months, it'll actually be released. But this is one title that's already been worked on and it is coming out this year on 4K Ultra HD. And this film came out in 1997, and it is a really good classic film that if you haven't checked it out yet, you're gonna wanna get it on 4K when it does come out. Now, another James Cameron title that I don't own on Blu-ray, I have it on an old DVD, but that's it, is True Lies. That is another one from 1994. It's a James Cameron with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis, one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger films. That is one that it has not been announced that it's coming out this year. I do hope we get it in the future, but it's one of those that James Cameron has talked about for over 10 years and has never actually released even on Blu-ray. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. It seems like we get Titanic over and over again, and he works on his avatars, but we'll see if we get that one. I would love to get True Lies on 4K. Another classic that I loved watching over and over again to this day, my kids love it and I love it, is The Sandlot. And this is from 1993. And it is one of those nostalgic movies that is just an epically perfect movie for its time period. It integrates baseball and kids and the childlike imagination so perfectly that this is one of those perfect films that really deserves a 4K Ultra HD release. Though, sad news is it is owned by Disney now because 20th Century Fox, and like they said, they're not really working on catalog titles anymore, so the likelihood of us getting this on 4K Ultra HD is very, very unlikely. But it is one of my dream titles that I would love. Now, as always, with any of these titles that I'm covering in this video though, if you do decide you want to buy any of these on Blu-ray, and any of these that I announced that I have the 4K pre-orders for and things like that, I'll post all of those links down in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. So when you get done watching this video, any of these titles you're looking for, I'll try to get as many of these as I possibly can together. I'll post all of those Amazon links down below. They never cost you anything extra by clicking on those links down below, but they do help to support this YouTube channel just a little bit. So if you decide you want to buy any of these, make sure to click through those links I'm going to post down below. Two classics that desperately need to be on 4K Ultra HD is Dick Tracy and The Rocketeer. Both of these would be amazing 4K Ultra HD releases, especially if they did them with Dolby Vision and Atmos track. These desperately need to be on 4K, but they are owned by Disney, and as I previously mentioned, Disney is not working on catalog titles, it seems like, especially because we almost never get any catalog 4Ks that often anymore from Disney, but these really need to be on 4K. I mean, man, when this came out in 1990, I thought Dick Tracy was one of the coolest movies, and then in 1991, The Rocketeer, a great film as well. Next up is Dragonheart, the 1996 kind of fantasy action adventure with some comedy classic. I really enjoyed this film when it came out. I thought Dennis Quaid was great in it. I loved Sean Connery as the voice of Draco the Dragon in it. It is a great film, and the good news is it is coming out on 4K Ultra HD, and I'll have that link posted down below if you do decide you want to pre-order it, but it's coming out from Shout Factory, so this is one I'm happy to announce that was just announced that will be releasing on 4K Ultra HD here very soon. I actually think it comes out in the next month and a half here, so this is one that's a very exciting release because I really enjoyed this film, so that'll be an exciting one to dive into on 4K. Now, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to go down and give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you never miss out on any of this special or exclusive content that I release here on my YouTube channel. So make sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Next up, we've got all of the 90s Star Trek The Next Generation movies. Now, I do have a surprise on this. This is being worked on currently by Paramount Studios. From my contacts at the company, this is something they've been working on for a while now. So they are planning on releasing some of these Star Trek The Next Generation movies here within the next year. So I'm assuming we're going to see like Star Trek First Contact and Generations. Now the only thing I don't know is if they're going to release it as a whole box set or do them each individually spread out over the next year. I just know they're working on them, so that's an exciting one because as most of you know that have followed my YouTube channel for a while, Star Trek First Contact is one of my favorite Star Trek films of all time. So it would be great to get those on 4K Ultra HD. I'll be so excited to see what they do with them because they did such an amazing job with all of the older Star Trek films that I've previously reviewed here on my YouTube channel. If you want to check out any of those reviews of any of the Star Trek films on 4K, I've done all of them. There's multiple videos available on my channel that cover all of those Star Trek 4Ks. But this is an exciting one that is coming out, that now you've got another big announcement of titles that are going to be coming out on 4K Ultra HD here. That'll be coming out here later this year. Touching on a film I have heard that's being worked on by Sony is Legends of the Fall. This is a really good Anthony Hopkins, Brad Pitt film from the 90s. I really enjoyed this. It's very epic in scope and it's just kind of one of those romantic, epic, just really well done movies. So this one I have heard is being worked on, though I don't know if it's planned for this year or next year, but it is something that is being worked on, so it is something we have to look forward to that should be coming out on 4K Ultra HD here within the next 2 years. So that's an exciting one. Another Brad Pitt film that I really want to see on 4K is Fight Club. Though with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, it's owned by 20th Century Fox, and because it's Disney, the likelihood of this one is almost very unlikely. So I think the Blu-ray is about the best we're probably going to get, but it would be pretty darn cool if this came out on 4K. A personal favorite movie that I've talked about quite a bit from 1997 is Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt, The Devil's Own. I really enjoy this film. It's a great crime, thriller, and it's got some great acting in it. Love this film, though I have not heard that it's coming out on 4K Ultra HD. I actually have 2 copies of this, one sealed because I liked it so much. But this is one of those I really hope that Sony does and releases on 4K because they've been doing some great work with some of their catalog titles. And this one will be one of those really cool hidden gems to get on 4K. Another Brad Pitt movie from the 90s that I did hear about that is being worked on, that is a planned 4K Ultra HD release, and I think we're going to get this during the 100-year celebration by Warner Brothers this year, is Se7en. This is with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and it's one of those really kind of horror thrillers. If you've ever seen this movie, it's a really mind game movie, and it's a well done movie. But this one is one that is going to be coming out hopefully this year. It's been worked on last year, and it kind of seems like they held it over, and I think it's because it's their 100th anniversary this year that Warner Brothers is doing, and this is why I think this is going to come out this year on 4K. One of my favorite westerns from the 90s is Tombstone with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer. This one's been talked about for years now, that Disney was supposedly working on this for a 4K release and then just kind of stopped working on it, and there's been no news about it whatsoever. But about for the last 3 or 4 years, I constantly heard chatter and kind of rumors about that this was coming on 4K. It never came to fruition, and there's been no news since, so I don't know if this is ever going to get a 4K, but man, would this be an awesome film to get on 4K Ultra HD. And as of right now, none of my studio contacts have even mentioned that this is something that's planned or that's coming out. Some other action classics that desperately need to be on 4K is The Rock and Con Air. Nicolas Cage is great in both these films, and these ones would be amazing 4K releases, but as always, these are owned, all of these three, by Disney. So again, it's a stinky thing because, man, they're just really letting their catalog titles dwindle, that they really have some great titles that should be released on 4K, and it's a really just darn shame that they're owned by Disney, because they should just license them out to another studio, another company, and let them release them on 4K. Heck, give them all to Criterion. Let Criterion do all of them. I'd be fine with that, or any of these other companies. But don't just leave them sitting out there never to release them on 4K. That's just a disappointment. Now, you can't talk the 90s without talking Jim Carrey. I mean, he was one of the kings of the 90s with comedies. And let me tell you, I had a hard time because I had to narrow down a bunch of these. But let me tell you, his Ace Ventura movies, Dumb and Dumber, you got The Mask. I mean, he really had some amazing movies that came out in 1990 that really hold up as great comedy classics. These would be some great 4K releases, though I haven't heard that these are being worked on at all. Another Jim Carrey movie that deserves a 4K is The Truman Show, though I will tell you, I have heard Paramount is working on this for a 4K release. Don't know when, but I have heard that it is something they've been talking about, discussing, and are in the early stages of. So this is one I do see us getting a 4K Ultra HD release, maybe within the next 2 years. There's no definitive release date or anything like that. I just heard chatter they've been working on it in some form. So this is one that's an exciting release that I would be looking forward to. One of my all-time favorite films from 1996 is The Phantom with Billy Zane, and it really is one of those great comic book, noir, just classic films. I went to see this originally at the drive-in when it first came out, and I actually saw it 3 or 4 times after that. I absolutely love this film. I think it has so much going for it, just such a classic feel to it, throwback to the old, basically, comics and newspapers and things like that. Kind of like a serial type comic book movie. Really well done. I've enjoyed this, and I've loved this film for years. I would love this on 4K Ultra HD, though I don't have any news if this one's coming out, but this would be one of those dream titles. Along with The Shadow. I absolutely love The Shadow with Alec Baldwin as well. Now, The Shadow is not, in my opinion, as good as The Phantom was, but The Shadow was another one of those noir, just kind of really well done, like mystery, kind of comic book, throwback to the old like serials, and I really enjoyed this, so I hope we get both of these on 4K. Now, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to go down and give this video a like and a thumbs up for me, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. One of my favorite end-of-the-world films, Deep Impact from 1998, is getting a 4K Ultra HD release. This is one that I just got notified about literally like 2 days before I was making this video. I was notified that this is being worked on for a 4K Ultra HD release this year. So this one is coming out on 4K Ultra HD this year from Paramount Studios, so that's an exciting one. It's really one of those just epic end-of-the-world films that I really enjoyed. Now, another film that deserves to be on 4K Ultra HD is Armageddon. I really always felt Deep Impact and Armageddon kind of went together as your kind of end-of-the-world asteroid-type films. I like them both for different reasons. I think they're both stellar films. I think Armageddon deserves it, but Armageddon's owned by Disney, so the likelihood of us getting this again is very, very minimal. Whereas this one, at least we are going to get this on 4K Ultra HD this year. So this is an exciting one that's coming up, though I really wish we get this one too. Another Disney film that really deserves a 4K is M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. I really would love this one. I'd actually love all of the rest of M. Night Shyamalan's, The Village, Signs, all of them released on 4K Ultra HD. That way I could have a whole M. Night Shyamalan collection, because I really think a lot of his early films were stellar films, and this is one of them that would be great. Though I said this one I do not see us getting here in the new future, but I would love to see it. A film that I absolutely love with Harrison Ford is The Fugitive. This is a great Harrison Ford mystery thriller that really holds up well today, along with the sequel, U.S. Marshals. The Fugitive came out in 1993 and U.S. Marshals came out in 1998, so all within that same decade. Both of these are really good films. I always enjoyed watching them. Now, I have heard that The Fugitive is being considered for a 4K Ultra HD release. Nothing on US Marshals. Now, that doesn't tell me what stage this is in. I just heard it was something that was being considered by Warner Brothers for 4K. I would really rather them do them both in kind of a box set because they really go together well. And they're a continuation of basically the US Marshal in this, Tommy Lee Jones character, and I think they're great films, so I'd love if they release them both together. But if we only get The Fugitive to begin with, I'd be perfectly happy with that because I love this Harrison Ford flick. Dante's Peak from 1997 is getting a 4K Ultra HD release from Universal Studios. Now, this is one that I heard about over a year ago. They were working on a Dolby Atmos track for this, and my understanding is because of some of the releases in other countries, they only licensed it out in some other countries with that Dolby Atmos on Blu Ray. But it's actually one that Universal's planning on releasing, or somebody else is going to release and license it from them for the US. But it is being worked on, and that was actually about 2 years ago when I first heard about that. So who knows, maybe Turbine, they did that Frighteners from Universal. If you haven't checked out that review yet, it's available here on this YouTube channel. That was an outstanding Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision release. That's a Universal licensed release. This is another one of those I could see either being licensed out or Universal doing themselves, because it is one that they did a new 4K scan on, and they already have the Dolby Atmos track ready. So my assumption is we're going to get this either from them themselves or it'll be licensed out from someone else here, hopefully within the next year. But it is one that has been worked on, and last year was when they started working on it. So this is one we get to look forward to as an upcoming release. One of my favorite 1998 horror sci-fi films is Sphere. Dustin Hoffman, Samuel L. Jackson, Sharon Stone. Great film. I mean, it's based on a Michael Crichton novel, and Barry Levinson directs it. This is an outstanding sci-fi film that really makes you think and keeps you engaged, has some great special effects. I've always really enjoyed this one. I would love this one on 4K Ultra HD. Imagine those underwater effects and all of that with the lights to darks and how the water has like that neon blue glow, like what you see on the word Sphere. Think how cool that would be with some really good HDR. That would be a cool release. Though this one I've heard nothing about getting a 4K release. This is just one of my wish list titles. Another 1998 sci-fi film that I love with Kurt Russell is Soldier. This is directed by Paul Anderson, and it is just one of those really fun sci-fi films. Kurt Russell is great in it. It's set in like a dystopian future, and it's got some really gritty sci-fi action that I've always loved. And this one would make for a really cool 4K release, though again, this is another wish list title because I've heard absolutely nothing about this release. A title I just recently announced here on my YouTube channel that I will be getting in early for review is the 1997 Face Off. Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, John Woo, Matrix-style action, which John Woo kind of invented earlier on and then they took into the Matrix. But anyhow, this is one of those great films that I really enjoy. Yeah, it's got some cheesiness to it, but I don't care. It is just so enjoyable. It's got some great action set pieces. Nicolas Cage is over the top and unhinged in it. It's a great performance. I love this film. I will be getting it in early for review here on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to go down and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you never miss out on any of my earlier exclusive content. But this is one I just recently announced that will be coming up in the next couple of months here from Paramount and Kino Lorber, and I will be getting this in early for review to do all my exclusive analysis and testing of how it compares to the Blu-ray release and let you know how that is. So that's a really exciting title that I'm looking forward to here. Now, you can't talk 90s without talking about the 1993 romantic comedy classic Sleepless in Seattle with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, and the 1998 romantic comedy classic You've Got Mail, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan reuniting again. Absolutely love these films. My wife loves them. We've watched them so many times, just to let you know. But they are such good Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan films that really need to be in everybody's library. I mean, they are just great films. Now, You've Got Mail, I have not heard anything about a 4K coming out on this. But I have heard Sony is working on a 4K Ultra HD release for Sleepless in Seattle. Now, this Blu-ray was not released in the US. I actually had to get it from another country many, many years ago, and it's been out of print for many years. But I have heard Sony is working on a 4K Ultra HD release. I don't know if it's going to be included in their next Columbia Classics set. Not quite sure, but I do know they've been working on it. So this is one we will be looking forward to here in the next year or two on 4K Ultra HD. So that's an exciting one, but I would like You've Got Mail as well. I know my wife loves this film. She would love it if they released that too, but haven't heard anything about this one. Continuing 1998 romantic comedies, The Wedding Singer. Really, Drew Barrymore, Adam Sandler at the top of their game. They had some great romantic comedies. I had a hard time because there were so many of them. So I figured I'd just stick with one that a lot of people know about, but The Wedding Singer, and there's tons of other Drew Barrymore romantic comedies from the 90s that, man, I could go on all day just about her films as well. But this one would be a really cool 4K, but I have not heard anything about this one, but I would like this one on 4K. Another one I heard that is coming out on 4K Ultra HD is The Man in the Iron Mask from 1998. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio. It's about the Three Musketeers and things like that. Really fun, really good film. Now this one already got a brand new 4K scan, so the work's already done for it. And see, here's the thing. MGM is licensing out all of their releases, especially ones that have all the new 4K scans and work done on them. They're licensing them out. So this one I do see coming out on 4K Ultra HD here within the next year pretty soon. My only thing is I'm not sure who's going to do it. Here's why. Shout Factory basically got the licenses for a lot of these Blu-ray releases, but I've noticed like Kino Lorber and even Vinegar Syndrome has been stepping in and getting some of those releases that used to be Shout Factory releases that are now on 4K in those companies. So it could be a surprising release that we see like Kino Lorber or even Vinegar Syndrome step in and release this because they got the rights for the 4K, where Shout Factory got the rights for the Blu-ray. But this is one that I do see us getting here pretty soon. Another 1998 film about World War II that I absolutely love is The Thin Red Line. This is the Criterion Collection release. Now, I would love if Criterion Collection was able to release this on 4K Ultra HD because this would be great to have along with like my Saving Private Ryan and all my war films on 4K. And if you haven't checked out my top 10 war films video, I did that here just recently a couple of weeks ago, and that was very popular. It's got all of my top 10 war films on 4K. This is one I would love to have on 4K to add to that collection, but it's owned by 20th Century Fox, and because now that Disney owns that, I'm not sure how the licensing out of this would be anymore. I don't even know if they would license it out for 4K. But this is one of those dream wish list titles. I really like this film and it would make a really cool 4K. Just like Saving Private Ryan, if done right, this would be one of those reference quality releases if done right on 4K. Can't really talk the 90s without RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3. We already got RoboCop 1, the original movie, on 4K. These are two that I do see us getting because they're owned by MGM. As I said, MGM is licensing out almost all of their catalog. And these already came out by Shout Factory, Scream Factory on Blu-ray. I could see them releasing them, or maybe Arrow Video would want to step in since they did RoboCop the first one on 4K. Release 2 and 3, even though the varying quality of them, they're not as good as number 1 was, but I still really like these films for different reasons, and I want to have them all on 4K so I have the whole collection of them. So these are ones that I do hope get released, but I have heard nothing about them other than the fact of that I know MGM is licensing out all of their releases for 4K releases. So these are likely we will get them. I just don't know that they'll be this year. It might be a couple of years out before we see these. Gotta have some Robin Williams love here for the 90s. The 1998 Patch Adams with Robin Williams. Wonderful film, real tearjerker, but an absolutely wonderful film that I still love to this day. Would love this on 4K Ultra HD. Talking about 90s Robin Williams, you can't forget about Good Will Hunting. Another stellar performance by Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. Overall, one of these films that just touches you in your heart and you just never forget it. Both of these would make great 4Ks, though I will tell you I've heard nothing about Patch Adams, but I have heard Paramount actually has been advertising a ton. If you're on like Facebook or Twitter, they've been advertising this a ton, and they actually had like a little poll for a very brief while before they took it down, asking if this is one of those films that people would be interested in getting a visual and audio upgrade. Well, when you say something like that, I kind of take that as to mean, well, over the Blu-ray, an upgrade would be a 4K. So this is one I do think we're going to get. Don't know if it's this year, but based on all the things I've been seeing, especially with them posting it a lot recently. Holy, I've seen them posting it a ton recently with little advertisements talking about, you know, oh, it's a great film and this and that. And Paramount, when they've been doing that lately, usually a month or two later, they've announced them on 4K. So I could see this one coming out from Paramount Studios on 4K Ultra HD. A personal favorite wish list title of mine from 1996's First Night with Sean Connery and Richard Gere and Julia Ormond. I really like this film, though it's not 100% accurate. It is one of those films that's kind of just like one of those like guilty pleasures I absolutely love, that Yeah, maybe it has some things that don't apply to the time period, their armor, but man, was their armor cool with how shiny it was and everything in this. And I really thought it was a really cool stylized flick. I really enjoy this one, and I would love this on 4K. It is owned by Sony, but I've heard nothing about this one getting a release. Now, if any of these titles you're excited about, or any of these you want to see coming out on 4K, or if there's any other ones, like I said, there was hundreds of titles that I didn't get to dive into here because of time, but man, was the 90s a huge time period. So any of these that you're excited about or any other ones, make sure to start that conversation in the comment section below. Post what ones you're excited about, what ones you want to see come out. I always love to hear from all of you, and it was a fun time on the 80s video when I did that one. Man, did I have hundreds and hundreds of comments about different ones people are excited about. So the studios, when they watch these, it's kind of nice for them to see different things that people are excited about. So make sure to start that conversation down below and post some of your favorite titles. That way they can see those, and kind of some of the ones that I didn't get to go through today. Make sure to start that conversation down there below. Now, a great sci-fi comedy that I absolutely love from 1999 is Galaxy Quest. It has Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and a dozen other supporting cast members that are great in it. This is a really, really funny sci-fi comedy, and it would be a cool 4K. Now, there is some twisted things on this though. I did hear 2 years ago that Paramount was considering it. Then it kind of dropped off the radar, and then they released like a steelbook release of it with like some artwork on it saying it was an anniversary edition, and then I didn't hear anything about it again. So I don't know if this is coming out, I don't know if it's going to or if it's not. I kind of thought a while ago it was going to, but then like I said, it kind of dropped off the radar. So who knows if we'll see this. Another favorite sci-fi Kurt Russell film with James Spader is Stargate by Roland Emmerich. Now this film came out in 1994, and this is owned by Lionsgate. And I can tell you, just like I talked about with the recent Highlander review I did, that's from Lionsgate as well. This is one that is being worked on by Lionsgate. They are notoriously a little bit slow on a lot of their 4K releases. They do take their time, and it seems like we get a few of them every year or so. But this is one they're working on. And just like with Highlander, I announced that about a year before Highlander was ever coming out. And I got notified a long time before that Highlander was going to come out. And I made an announcement here on my YouTube channel, and then it came out a year later. This is another one of those that they've been working on from my contacts. It's one they've been working on for a while. So this is one we're gonna see sometime on 4K Ultra HD from Lionsgate. So this is an exciting one. Another film from 1998 is the great comedy action classic Rush Hour. Now, Rush Hour 2 and Rush Hour 3 were released later on, but Rush Hour, the original one, was 1998. This is one I've heard that Rush Hour, the first one, is being worked on by Warner Brothers, though I don't have an idea when it's coming out because I actually heard it was being worked on over a year ago. So again, I don't know if this is one of those that's going to come out during their 100th anniversary this year, that they're going to release the first Rush Hour movie on 4K. So because they are considering doing another Rush Hour movie with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, my understanding is maybe they're going to release that 4K closer to the release of whenever they do that movie. Not quite sure how that's going to work, but I do know that the first one is being worked on by Warner Brothers, and it is a planned and upcoming 4K. Schwarzenegger in the 90s, the 1990s Kindergarten Cop and Eraser from 1996. Both need to be on 4K Ultra HD. This one's Universal, this one's Warner Brothers. Both of those studios do release 4Ks of catalog titles, so I could see these coming out on 4K Ultra HD. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, as most of you know, and these would both make great 4K releases, though I haven't heard if either of these are planned. Can't talk Arnold Schwarzenegger without talking about his nemesis, Stallone. Stallone had some amazing films in 1990s, but Demolition Man, I want this on 4K, but I do have some good news about Daylight. Daylight is being worked on for a 4K Ultra HD release. This is another one that it got a Dolby Atmos track and was licensed out by several other studios last year on Blu Ray around the world with an Atmos track. So this is one that is being worked on, so I can see this coming out here in the next year on 4K, and this one's a fun movie, but I really want all the rest of Stallone's as well. I just picked out Demolition Man because I really didn't have enough time to go through all of his films, but man, you look at Stallone's film in the 90s, he had some amazing movies, just like Schwarzenegger. That was a big time for both those actors. Tom Cruise 1993 classic The Firm, directed by Sidney Pollack. This is an outstanding, stellar mystery, crime, just it's got so many things going for it. Tom Cruise is great in it. Gene Hackman's great in it. The writing and directing in this was stellar. This deserves a 4K Ultra HD release. Haven't heard anything about this one, but I would love this on 4K. Another off-the-wall, basically dream title that I really want is 1998's The Avengers. This is the remake of the TV series with Emma Peel and John Steed, and I love that series. And that's one of those things that it's got so much charm and appeal to it. I loved this film. Ralph Fiennes, Uma Thurman, Sean Connery. It's been out of print on Blu-ray for a very long time. I think the last time I checked, these Blu-rays were going for upwards of like $150 to $200 each. This one would be a really cool because of all the different colors and stylized action in it. If you've seen this movie, it's got so much oozing coolness and like 60s charm behind it. Love this film. This would be a cool 4K. That's a wish list title, but because the Blu-ray's been out of print so long, I don't know if they're even considering it for a 4K. Another one that deserved a 4K Ultra HD release is the 1997 Contact. Now this is by Robert Zemeckis, and it's got a great cast of Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey. This one should have come out on 4K Ultra HD last year during the anniversary of Contact. Now, I don't know if it's being worked on. I don't know if they're planning on. Warner Brothers is releasing it during their 100th anniversary this year. To be honest, they've got thousands of titles that if they don't start announcing some of them soon, now that we're in the beginning of the year, I mean, there's so many they've got to release this year. If they're planning on doing a deluge of just hundreds and hundreds of titles, they better start announcing them soon because, man, stuff like this, these just deserve a brand new 4K restoration because they're just really good films. 1997's LA Confidential, hands down, stone cold classic noir thriller. If you haven't seen this film, it is great. The cast is epic in it. You got Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, Kim Basinger, Danny DeVito. That's just to name a few. It's a great noir film, just one of those like gangster type feels, and just I love the film itself. This is owned by Warner Brothers. I could see this getting a 4K Ultra HD release. If not, I hope they license it out to someone else. A title I see coming out on 4K Ultra HD here within the next 2 years is Dances with Wolves. Now this is another MGM title they are licensing out. There was already a brand new 4K scan done, so a lot of the work's already done. It just depends on who bought the license. Now Shout Factory did recently do a steelbook release, and they've actually started clearancing those out. So maybe that's indicative of that they're going to do a 4K of this. So they clearanced out those old steelbooks of the Blu-rays because they're going to do a 4K release, or somebody else is. But this is one I do see us getting soon. Dances with Wolves was a great film with Kevin Costner. I remember seeing it in theaters. Another one that I absolutely love a Western film of is Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner. This is Warner Brothers. Haven't heard anything about if this one's being touched. This one I do see us getting pretty soon. This one I have no clue if Wyatt Earp's coming, but I really like this Western movie. No, I don't like it as much as Tombstone, but if we're not getting Tombstone, I at least want Wyatt Earp because Wyatt Earp was really good as well. I'm amazed we have not gotten yet Sleepy Hollow. Tim Burton, Johnny Depp. Man, why have we not gotten this on 4K yet? Of all the 4Ks I've seen Paramount releasing, how have they not released this around Halloween or something? This is an absolutely stone cold classic. That is a cult classic movie that I love. This should be on 4K Ultra HD. I don't know why it's not on there yet. Haven't even heard if they're working on this yet. Continuing, Johnny Depp, another one. Donnie Brasco, Al Pacino. Great crime, gangster, mobster film. 1997 was a great year for Johnny Depp. This one deserves to be on 4K, and Sony owns it. So who knows? It might be one of those hidden titles we get in like one of those Columbia Classics collections. That would be really great. 2 MGM titles that are being licensed out are Ronin, great thriller action movie, just well done, and Rob Roy. Now, I do see us getting both of these here on 4K. I don't know if they're going to be this year. I would love if Arrow Video went in and did a brand new 4K Ultra HD release of Ronin, because this is the Blu-ray release that's been out of print for a long time, and it's extremely expensive and hard to find. And I like this movie a lot. A 4K of this would be just awesome. And Rob Roy would be really cool. Because these are MGMs, they are licensing these out, so we never know who we're going to see these from, but these are ones I do see us actually getting because of them being licensed out. 90s James Bond films. Now, I kind of was going to avoid these, but you really can't talk about even the 90s without talking James Bond, and Pierce Brosnan was great. These ones I never took as serious. I always felt like these were more lighthearted, kind of James Bondian films. but man, do I like these films. Like I talked about in that 80s Most Wanted video that I did, these are something that are being worked on that I see us getting here in the next year or two whenever they finish all the work on them. Two of my favorite sci-fi thrillers from the 90s is The 13th Floor and Dark City. If you have not checked out both of these stellar, like slightly creepy, mystery, thriller, sci-fi movies, these will really surprise you and knock your socks off. The writing on them, the acting, just the overall feel, the sets, the overall thought-provoking story behind them is so well done. And 13th Floor has been out of print for so long. I talked about this a long time ago on the YouTube channel, and even back then it was like $100 to $200 for a Blu-ray copy of this. Sony owns the rights for this. They can easily release this on 4K Ultra HD because it's not even available on Blu-ray anymore. This is one of my favorite 90s films that a lot of people missed out on because, you know, a lot of people talk about The Matrix and things like that. And this came out around the similar time as The Matrix, but in my opinion, this had so much going for it that a lot of people just kind of skipped watching The 13th Floor and they missed out. The soundtrack is great on this, and it just had such a good story on it. It wasn't trying to be The Matrix. It was its own thing, completely separate, and it's a really good movie. And so is Dark City. Both of these deserve 4Ks. Another title that's a surprise that I have heard is being worked on for 4K Ultra HD release is Twister. This thriller was released in 1996 with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton. I really like the film. I really even like the ride they used to have at Universal before they shut it down, where it made you feel like you were in there and the twister and everything. Really thought that was really cool. This is one of those films that is being worked on, though. It's another one that a Dolby Atmos track was done on, and my understanding is this has been licensed out on Blu-ray in other countries, but the work's already being done on it, so I don't know if this is one Warner Brothers is going to release this year during their 100th anniversary type thing, or if it's one that's going to be licensed out to somebody else, but I do know that work is being done on Twister, so this is one that I see us getting here, hopefully within the next year, possibly 2 years, but I really can't see it going into the next year. I really think we're going to get this year, because all of those like Dolby Atmos and things were last year that were released, which means that work was done all last year, and they usually don't sit on them for longer than about a year, so I really think we're going to get this year. Another wish list Tim Burton movie that I absolutely love the comedy and the humor in it is Mars Attacks, another Tim Burton movie. This one's from 1996. This would be a great 4K release, but again, a lot of the Tim Burton movies, I don't really see them on 4K that often. It's very rare we get a lot of Tim Burton movies on 4K, but man, it'd be great if we got a lot more Tim Burton movies, because Edward Scissorhands, that deserves a 4K, though again, that's going to be owned by 20th Century Fox, so the likelihood of us seeing that because it's Disney is very unlikely. But this is owned by Warner Brothers, so this could get released, and I really like this film. Now, you can't finish talking about the 90s without mentioning John Grissom movies. Man, he had some stellar movies in the 90s. I mean, you got A Time to Kill, Pelican Brief, The Client, Rainmaker. I mean, I could go on and on all day about all of the different great, like, just kind of mystery, and a lot of these had to do with courtroom dramas or murder mysteries or things like that. Just John Grissom was on his game at that time, and all of these got adapted by different directors. And Joel Schumacher, who did a bunch of these, did a really good job as a director on them. They all had stellar casts in them. These all deserve, I mean, just a big box set. Let's just make a big box set, Warner Brothers. Release all of these from the 90s on 4K. I really liked all of these types of films that you sat back and you never knew what you were getting. The stories were so intriguing and engaging, and you really liked all of the characters, and you really felt attached to those types of stories back then. They didn't have to have big special effects, and a lot of these films from those 80s and 90s didn't have to have huge special effects budgets because the acting, the writing, the storylines were so good in them that you were engaged all along. And that's what I miss. Now, if any of these titles I covered today you don't have on Blu-ray or you're wanting to get, I'll post as many of these with links as I can below in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. When you open that up, it'll have them all listed out down there. It takes you straight out to Amazon when you click on those links. Never costs you even a penny extra, but that does help support this YouTube channel just a tiny bit. So make sure if you want to buy any of these to click through those links I've posted in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. If you want to support my YouTube channel, which is very important to the creation of these videos, as I've explained over the years, I'm not sponsored and I'm not paid by anybody. The only way I can always continue to create all of this exclusive content that you enjoy watching is through all of you, my viewers' support. You can always join my Collectors VIP Club. That is the best way to support this YouTube channel. It costs you less than a couple of dollars each month, less than the price of a cup of coffee, and that makes a drastic difference in me keeping to create all of this content. All of my VIP Club members truly make a huge difference. That's the only way I can keep doing this full time. You can always give a super thanks to the super thanks button down below as well. That allows you to give a tip of any amount, and that goes right back into the creation of these videos as well. Any of these titles that any of you are excited about, any of these you've forgotten about, any of these that I didn't get to talk about from the 90s, make sure to post those in the comment section below and let me know what ones you're excited about. Start that conversation again, just like we did with that 80s one that I just recently did. I loved hearing from all of you. There's so many titles. I really struggled in this video to condense down how many titles I was going to talk about. There was hundreds upon hundreds. You should have seen the stack when my wife and I were talking about it. The stack was so high that it took us literally 2 days to condense everything down, to even get it down to this size of what I went through. And I mean, we just covered like 85 titles in this video alone, and that wasn't even like a quarter of the ones I wanted to cover. 90s were an amazingly awesome year for movies that I'd really forgotten about how many movies came out in the 90s. There's so many more that I wanted to talk about. And to be honest with you, with how popular this video series has been, I might do more of these going forward, like part 2s of the 90s, part 2s of the 80s. But for right now, I'm going to continue with these decades. And every once in a while, every few weeks or a month, I might go back and do another one. So my plan is to do like the 00s, and then going into basically the 2010s and things like that, and do different decades, go back to the 1970s, 60s, and so on, and kind of do this every once in a while, something fun to let you know about things that I've heard about that are coming out and things that are hoping to come out. So let me know in the comment section below what ones you're excited about and how much you enjoy this video series. As always, make sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you never miss out on any of this special or exclusive content that I release here on my YouTube channel. As always, I really hope all of you have a blessed day, that you always have a fun time with all of this content, and I always have something new and exciting coming out very soon.